Nigerians have expressed anger over the delay in the distribution of the palliatives by the state governors. The Nigeria Labour Congress, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, the Nigeria Union of Teachers, the National Union of Pensioners, and others in an interview on Tuesday lamented the hunger among their members and expressed misgivings about the way the palliatives package was being handled by the authorities. Now, last Thursday, the federal government announced the distribution of 180 billion naira and 180 trucks of rice to the states to ease the subsidy removal. Now, still with me virtually is John Akerile. John, thank you for staying with us for the second segment of VOP this morning. I don't know if you saw a video that circulated recently on social media, especially the one in Lagos, where a couple of Lagosians gathered at a particular venue, stretching their hands and asking for the palliatives for the rice and the gari and the beans. But the question is, this method of distribution, would it quell the hunger that is already prevailing in the land?
Thank you very much, Esther. Good morning once again to all of our viewers all over the world.
Good morning.
And this is what you see when you have a government that shows incompetence, and inefficiency at its peak. Like I said to you, it's only when you have a data of your state that you can know the poorest, the vulnerables in your state. But in a case where there's no data to that, you only give out this to your political cronies. Esther, I will keep saying to you, until Nigeria becomes a country where people face consequences for their actions and inactions, nothing will change. Let me take you back to the NSAS protest, and after NSAS, the aftermath, when during the COVID era, people, could not get these palliatives that were to be distributed to them. But they were in one warehouse, and some were even branded as a birthday gift by a known politician. Up till now, what happened to that politician? Nothing, my sister. So people can do all sorts of impunity and go with it, and they are fine, and it's normal. And that's why I said to you that our political class will always want to impoverish the people. So that they want people to come beg, even for the crumbs at the table. They still want to beg even for the crumbs, not the one on the plate. The crumbs, they still want you to beg for that crumb before you can have it. And it's such an appalling situation. Now, if Lagos can be said to be the center of excellence, and that can happen in Lagos, then I wonder the kind of excellence we are talking about. Just like Obi will say, that if the process that brought you in is not an excellent process, then what is excellent about you being called an excellency? The same thing to Lagos case. If that cannot be seen as an excellent process, then why call Lagos Center of Excellence? Why show people only the glamour? Why not show that there are some areas of who would have even imagined that Lagos of today would not have a good data of its population? Lagos of today. It's not Lagos of 1963, Lagos of 2023. We not have the complete data to say, okay, in Lagos, in Koshofe, we have 2,000 vulnerable people. We have 3,000 unemployed young people. We have 5,000 graduates. And these people have places where they live, and you can trickle it down to their ward, to their streets, so that whatever you want to give to them can come to them directly from the state government into these people's houses or their bank accounts. And these things are not rocket science. They are doable. Mind you, in this political era, they have ward councillors, right? They have ward ESCOs. Ward ESCOs have about maybe 7 streets, 3 streets, 5 streets in their own ward. How come posters and campaign materials can get to the ward, but palliatives cannot get to the ward? Have you asked that question? And that is what we should look at. That these people, the political class, are intentional about forcing hardship on people. And they want you to beg and beg with the last of your sweat, even most of your blood in your system. And that's not the way to go. When people are like that, you are making them to be demoralized psychologically. They cannot think straight. And that's why if you look at out of 10 people on the street of Lagos today, 8 of them are frustrated. Esther, take a trip one time. Maybe just take a bus from Ogba to Ikeja under bridge. Public transport, don't even Uber this time around. And you can feel the frustration. When you get to Ikeja under bridge, just take a walk from Ikeja under bridge to the rail line and then sample people's, countenances. You see frustration on the street. It shows that people are hungry, people are angry, people are frustrated. And it would have been that I would have expected that Lagos would have shown leadership, would have shown that excellence in terms of their distribution channel. Looking at it that Lagos now has 20 local governments, recognized by the federal government, 37 LCDAs. And then you have making 57, and they call their LCDAs the 57 men. If these 57, of them can say, okay, how do we now go into the crannies of our locality and make sure that these palliatives get to them? Have you not noticed that in this same Lagos, one local government will give palliative to its own people to make mention of that local government, or your local government? Another local government, Ikosi Sherry, will not do the same to its people. And then you ask yourself, what's the question? What's the problem? Is it that the local government is getting more allocation from the state than Ikosi Sherry or Agboike too? These are questions to be answered. So it also boils down to the fact that some of them know what to do, but they don't just want to do it. It's an act of wickedness. So I think the first thing to be done is simple. Marshal your ward schools, at the party level to get the number of people in their streets. How many agents do we have? If the national population census cannot come up, and I said it that time, that if they say they are postponing, that is like the end to population census. After many months, are we talking about population census now? The way Nigeria is, if there's a problem, you don't solve that problem at that point in time, you postpone that problem to the next time, many more problems will come. You don't have time to even see the other one. No, we're not talking about population census, and that's the problem for us. So I think what we should do now is get the statistics right. Where are these people, the poorest of the poor, where do they live? What is their, what is their level of income? How much do they earn? How many are they in the family? Where do they live? And then these governmental, interventions can come to them directly without any middleman or intermediary. Right. In this case, people will be seeing that yes, the government is really sharing the palliatives as it helps to be done.
It's interesting that you said this. You do know that when Babagana Zulum talked about these, when he talked about this, he did say that they have accurate data. And the question I asked them was, where did he get the accurate data from? Is it from the National Census Board, or is it from his party? All right. But now, this is what NLC is saying. NLC is saying that they are not part of this sharing thing. They don't have any idea. They don't know how it's done. What do you make of NLC's? Isn't this some poor negotiation by NLC to get palliatives for the common man?
I think what NLC is saying, they want to be involved in the process of sharing. But at the same time, if you're involved in the process of sharing, it means that you also share some to your own side. That's what it means. It means that if NLC is involved in the process of sharing, there's a percentage of that, palliative that will come to the state chapter of NLC and to their members. And also, that will also be seen as being selective, because it's not every member, every person in the state that is a member of NLC. Okay? A state like Lagos with over 22 million people. So if NLC, I don't think NLC have a population of 5 million in their workforce in Lagos State, and so the remaining 17 million people, what happens to them? So I think NLC, if they say they want to be part of it, fine, but what they should clamor for is a more transparent process that can aid distribution effortlessly. One. Two, what they should clamor for is that there should be an immediate increment in the wages of workers. Moses, let's not lie to ourselves. What did subsidy do for us? Removal of subsidy. The removal of subsidy increased cost of transportation, one. Cost of food, two. Now, all of our commodities increased, three. Now, it means that if you are looking at health, you're looking at education, you are looking at transportation, these three is increased. A sane government would look at how do we now, incentivize this region so that people can be able to have good health care at a subsidized rate at a reduced rate? How do we now, bring in interventions into transport segment to make sure that people can go to their offices and where they have their daily bread at a reduced price? How do we do that? How do we make sure that people have good quality education at a flat rate that is not, cutting their throat? Then how do we also increase their own wages so that if we increase their purchasing power and their buying capacity? So let me give you a clear example. You earn 30,000 naira as a cleaner. Now, before now, you spend 5,000 for your transportation and feeding. Before now, subsidy came, you are spending 15,000 or 20,000 of your salary. Now, you have 10,000. 10,000 cannot even pay your house rent because there's also an increment in that. So what should your employer do? Increase your salary from 30,000 to 80,000. So it means that the 30,000 you are earning before can take care of your transport, can take care of your feeding, can take care of your house rent monthly. And you have 50,000 naira extra. Okay? So with that, you will not really feel the hardship because you have the money. If they say transport, you can pay the 1.5 conveniently. Okay? Then people can buy petrol from the filling station conveniently. And before you know it, the economy will start, adjusting to the new reality. But in a case where you ask people to sacrifice, you ask them to go through childbirth pain. I'm a man, Moses. A man don't get pregnant. I don't know how childbirth pain is. It's only the women that understand that. So telling me to wait and go to childbirth pain, I don't to go to childbirth pain. I don't get pregnant. So I think what the government should do is to be more transparent in terms of their data collection, not party statistics now. Okay. Data. That for me is a very cogent thing. If they spend all the money, it makes sure that they have accurate data. That will help. So that even those in the House of Assembly, who they say either at the state level or at the federal level, they say they are making policies for who? For we. But you don't know the number of people you are making policies for. How does the policy work? I think if they are serious, the first thing we should do is let everybody be counted. Let's know the number of agents that we have. Let's know the number of children we have. Let's know the number of male, number of female, number of undergraduate, number of graduate, number of unemployed graduate, number of underemployed graduate, number of technical students. Let's have these numbers so that we know if you are bringing up a program and it's channeling unemployed graduates, we know the number of people we are targeting. So coming on air to say we are lifting 1.3 million party, in fact, let nobody come to the media and say that statement again because it's a provocative statement to Nigerian people. We lift 1.3 million out of poverty. How? Did you just see people out of poverty by mouth? No.
All right, John. Now
look at the indices and the indicators to lift people out of poverty. And sharing money, sharing palliative is never an indices in no economy of the world.
Now, John, since May 29, when subsidy was removed on PMS, it's been 3 months now. Today is the 24th. In a few days, it'll be complete, holistic 3 months. We're still hoarding rice. We're still hoarding grains. Salaries of workers have not been increased. States have tried to do, some measures to cushion the effect of the removal on the workers. But in totality, Nigerians are still suffering. Mm-hmm. What do you think should be done in the immediate to ensure that there is a cushioning to this suffering that Nigerians are going through right now? And by the way, the Minister of Labour, the new Minister of Labour, Simon Lalong, just said that now he will go into talks with Labour to ensure that palliative measures are looked at and brought to the fore now that he assumes office. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it is the first minute, there are some of the ministers that we all know that they will just be there, nothing will happen. And as a matter of fact, for the next 3 years, nothing will change,
Well, why are you so certain
that, you
about
know,
that, John? Why are you certain? Because the one of the chairman
Esther,
of the Nigeria Labour Congress Lagos chapter, Fumi Sesi, she actually expressed optimism in Simon Lalong. She said, due to his experience as a former governor of Plateau State, that he has a strong tendency. She believes that he has a good tendency and direction on resolving labor issues. So, how are we certain, like you just said, that in the next 3 years we should not expect anything different?
Esther, let's get something clear here. If you have a former governor and now a minister, let's not forget the fact that he was a former governor. The capacity he has as a governor is not the same capacity he's having as a minister. And so you should not expect that all that he said is going to do, he will do. Why? One, is the approval from the Mr. President. That's one. Two, is the funds available? So he might have a goodwill. I agree with you. He might say, yes, we want to increase your wages and salary, but the president says that the amount of increment is not what the federal government can take care of. What would the minister do? Will he increase the minimum wage of Nigerian labor workers? No. And that's why I said we should not put through many ministers, because everything still falls back to the table of Mr. President. Okay? Wike is a former governor. While he was in Rivers, he could approve project and make sure that the project is completed, because the funds at the state level is available for that project. But at the national level now, let's see how many projects we'll be able to do in Abuja. Because the funds that are available in Port Harcourt for the state is not available at the federal level for FCC. So these are two clear, things that we should know. Long might have good intentions. Ministry, yes. He does not have the do-it-all tendency. And that's why I said that they might have good intentions, and at the end of the day, it might just be more of talking, more of paperwork, and less of actions and reality. Okay, Moses just made mention of it now. We are 3 months into the removal of subsidy. Okay, what can you say single-handedly now that is the way forward that this government have done? Nothing. You have shared bags of trucks of rice to 36 states. You have shared 5 billion naira to each state government, and people are still wallowing in that same hunger, frustration, and anger. Warehouses are being filled up. So the thing is, you don't give out food and money first. You get your statistics. I think what the president should have done first for me, would have been, even after that, let's have a national population census.
The government is saying that the funds for a population census is not really adequate enough. That's one. Two, apparently the 48 ministers of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the next 4 years are to go up 8.6 billion naira. Now, we're talking about the reduction of cost of governance. The government is asking Nigerians to be quite patient, also telling Nigerians that the administration just kicked off, and so no miracle or magic can happen in the next or in this 2 months that the president has actually taken over. But his cabinet has been constituted. Nigerians are no longer patient. They expect something to happen immediately. Do you think that ideally, as the president is defending his administration, that possibly Nigerians are not patient enough to see most of the policies that have been laid down to begin to, take shape and implement themselves?
Esther, this same phrase you had, you hear that same phrase 3 years after. Mark my words. Mark today's date. John Akweli, said that to you. You will still get that same phrase. Be patient with this government. Was that not how the past administration said? Be patient. And Nigerians were patient for 8 years. Now, we are on the 9th year now. Be patient. We will still be patient till 2027. Be patient. And I don't know how long we'll keep this be patient kind of attitude. We don't see. Like I always say to people, what we need to make this country work is right here in this country. And it's there before us. If only we can have selfless leaders who will deny themselves of some, unnecessary, and say we need to build this country if indeed it's our own. But how do you build a country when even the deputy governor of your state, has a dual citizenship? He's a citizen of another country, so after he's done serving his term, he get pack his bag and then go to his own country where he belongs. And that's a problem for us. How many of these are political class now? Do their children live in the country? How many of them even have Nigerian citizenship? How many of them? Some of them have dual citizenship, so they don't really care about us. They don't care about us, and that's the truth of the matter. If indeed they care about us, you would have looked at it. What is important to Nigerian people? One is that people should be counted. That's one. So that as a federal government, you know how to allocate resources. Okay? Even in the Bible, it's there. It said, choose ye among you 7 men full of wisdom. Full of wisdom. 7 men for the administration of the table. That means some things need to be shared. How do you share things that the number of people you are sharing to? So what they should have done is make sure that we have a national population. It will cost us money, but the benefit of population census for us outweighs the money we are looking at. It's only in Nigeria we say population census, is expensive, but our governors can go on holiday. Our senators can have millions of naira as holiday benefits.
John, still on the palliative sharing measure and the warehouse, stalling in doing the needful, or the palliatives being stored. Let's look at the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation in person of Better Edu. Now, Better Edu actually gave out some measures through which these palliatives could be shared. She mentioned logistics, and in part of that, she mentioned GPS. Now, when she actually made that statement, Nigerians asked the question, how would GPS help to monitor the logistic process of, these palliative measures? Do we have the data, like you rightly mentioned? And if we're looking at implementing technology and ensuring that people actually get, these palliatives, how did the disbursement start in the first place? Already some disbursements have commenced whereby the names of persons are not written down. There's no orderly procedure to ensure that these palliatives are properly distributed and the homes get it at the various wards. So she was asked a question and she said GPS could be a method that could be used. Do you think the ministers do not understand the measure or the portfolio, the responsibilities and functions of the portfolio they are currently carrying on?
Esther. Nigeria is a comedy of power. GPS. Oh my God. Now that is what you see. I won't blame the minister, honorable minister. Honorable minister, I won't blame her. And the reason is because that is what you have when you don't have data in check. Now, even the minister cannot answer the question to say, how many vulnerable people do we have? She can't answer that question. She can't. Why? Because there's no data available for that. Okay, now, in this case, if you have a good database system, what would that do for you? You can segregate people according to the level of their income, either formal or informal sector. We should get to that. See, once we have this data, it will really solve so many problems, even when it comes to security. When it comes to fraud, it will really solve so many problems. You know the amount you earn, you know the kind of work this person is doing. Okay, this man is a welder. This is the company is working for. This is how much he earns on a weekly basis. There's a track system. This is where the bank he operates. This is where he lives. These are his utility bills. And you can gauge over time and say, okay, with this kind of people, they earn this amount of money. Now, what would the impact of fuel subsidy do? Trade or their craft. One is that they may not be able, there's no good power supply, that's one, and they need life for their job. Two is that the affordability of petroleum will be a problem for them in terms of working. Three is that it would have reduced source of income. Four is that its buying power would have been depleted. And these are people that I can now target and say, okay, these also are part of the vulnerables that we can net and, disburse this according to the local government, according to their residents. And that will be done. Using okay, how come we have 9 posts? What is 9 posts doing? This is where we can bring in 9 posts to say, okay, deliver this parcel to this side of, these are the list of the people, these are the addresses. So once this is delivered, you can make it like a challenge, Once you deliver, take a selfie with these people. All right? And so when people are asking you, How many people did you give this palliative to? With your selfie in the front of their house, with the NIPOS official giving this palliative to them and the selfie, you can count, okay, in our streets, I saw 10 people. You know, in my street, I saw 15 people in my street. So you will see that at out of the 704 local government, you can have some people say to you that in our own street, they came to give palliative to some people. And indeed, we can say that these people are really, you know, poor of the poorest. And that is the way to go. And that is why you can say the people actually feeling governmental impact directly, not through middleman. And I think NIPOS should have been, you know, contacted in this case, but they don't have the data to even work with. That's another problem. So in the case where you have the data, NIPOS can collaborate with the federal government, and this food can be packaged. You know, we have a warehouse, a factory where it can be done, sealed in like maybe 5 kg, 5 kg of gari, 5 kg of beans, 5 kg of cereal, all in total 20 kg as an entity. And then this can be disbursed from local government to local government, shared to the world and shared to the people. In that case, people will feel that the government knows that I'm existing. The government have my details and my database. They have my home address. They have my BVN. They have my NIN. They know me. And if there's anything that needs to come to me directly, it can come from the federal government directly to my account directly without any middleman. And if we have data, you cut off all these middlemen. And that is where the bulk of corruption comes in terms of sharing of palliatives and giving people benefit of dividends of democracy.
All right then. Thank you very much, John. We must appreciate your analysis and you staying with us on the program today. Now, talking about palliatives and data, Ogun State government has said they have come out to address a website that has asked people to register their details so that they can get palliatives. The government of Ogun State has said no, they are not part of it, and people should be wary of fraudsters who want to harvest their information and use it to, for dubious means.
But Moses, if the government actually needs data, what about our national identification number?
Of course.
Or BVAS for the banks? I mean, is...
John, we must say thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Do have a beautiful
Thank
day.
you for...
All right, John is a public affairs commentator. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go into business, entertainment, and sports.